Hey guys, this is Master Kevin Foong. How you guys? How you guys is you had your dinner, yeah? Okay, just waiting for more of you guys to join. Then we can commence with what we have been proceeding for the last few days. We have been doing live session on decoding your puzzle chart. Hi Ron. Hi Marika. Okay, so just keep your message coming, yeah. So at least I know my live is activated. I'm seeing you guys. Hi Alex. Hi, Jackson. How are you? Hi, Selena. Okay, cool. Right. So just to make sure that are you guys hearing me? Should have sound, right? Okay. Hi, Francis. Hi, Cynthia. Hi, Alex. Right. So while waiting for more people to join the session, I probably just recap a bit of what we've discussed. Hi, CK. Hi, Jocelyn. Good to see all of you. Okay. Hi, Johnny. So okay, if you have been here for the first time, okay, you do not really know what we are doing here. It's quite simple. Now, coming actually this entire week, what I've been sharing is since last week, I've been sharing a lot of parts updates. Okay, so it's all about how we can decode the parts of the destiny, birth date and time that you have, and then at the same time, what are the precious information you can get from there, right? I mean, currently right now, everyone is staying from home and I think working from home. Hi, Helen. Okay, so and all of this mini training that I'll be putting out for you guys, I thought this is the best time to pick up a new skill set, and at the very least, you do know what is the upcoming direction that is heading your way, and ultimately, we still wants to be looking at taking the right decisions. Okay, so that's what we'll be doing here. Okay, now you probably will have to plot your parts chart if this is the first time you have not sure how do you really get your parts chart. It's you can go to my parts.info. I try to get it out on the screen, right? So that's my parts.info. Okay, so you'll be plotting your parts chart from there. Okay, so and then technically when you are plotting your chart, okay, so you will start to be able to get all of the information. You guys can hear me? Okay. Is there sound? Okay, some of you are saying that there's no sound. So if you can hear the sound of my voice, you just keep yes. Sometimes your Facebook Live is playing. It may be loading for a while. So if you don't hear sound, what you can do is you can sometimes rejoin the session. Okay. So if you can hear the sound, just input yes, because a couple of you are saying that there's no sound from your phone, right, or your desktop. Okay. So just okay. So Jackson is saying that yeah, he can hear. So I think those that have no sound probably tries to you can try to rejoin the Facebook session. Okay, because sometimes it depends on where you're loading from internet bandwidth. Live does takes up a bit more bandwidth, so you may be not able to get some sound or picture, right? Or it kind of slows you down. Yeah. Okay. So just to recap, my pass.info. You can actually get it on a free, you can get a free account that's set up. Okay, so let me just put into my screen here. Okay, so if you go to my parts.info, if this is the first time, you have no idea how do you get your parts chart up. Okay, go to my parts.info. Okay, so once you're done with it, right? So what apparently you do is you create a new account under the new user, right? So you do have, there's a new user icon there. So just create a new account. So it's completely free for you to log on. You'll be able to get plot yourself and your family chart. This is the beginning of understanding the parts itself, right? Okay. So yeah, so Ron was giving some advice that you guys can unmute and remute again, or re-enable your voice again in case it's not working out for you. All right. Okay. So what we have been covering since last week is I talk about how we can actually climb a greater height, right? So we talk about climbing greater height. It's you see a lot of us is having a lot of lost direction, kind of don't know what to move from here. They have, the only thing that they have been told is right now is just stay at home, and whatever work you can be doing from home, you do it from home. But here's the thing: what happens after in Malaysia it's MCO, right? So in Singapore it's a circuit breaker get lifted off. Okay, so I think Malaysia is still 12th of May as of now. So whether there's extension or not is unclear. But as of Singapore, it's still 1st of June. Okay, so clearly that is a lot of people trying to, I know a lot of people is asking questions, right? So does it mean that right after the circuit breaker in Singapore or the stay-at-home order, everything is going to be back to normal? I think the repercussion of this, every business comes to a standstill at some point in time. So we do kind of need a little bit of recovery time. Okay, so ultimately it's what you will be looking at. If you have lost your job, then you need to figure out what are the things you can do, how do you get back on track. And at the same time, I thought that maybe we can also look at from the perspective of your Bazi. There's certain values in your date of birth and time that if you look at it, these are some of things that you can probably do, right? And not trying to, go around, try and error. And that's the thing about trying and error is sometimes to me, it takes so much time, okay? And not a lot of us wants to be trying things out and then later on knowing that you lost 1 year of a time, not be able to have that to work, okay? So yeah, so just having a shout out to some of you guys. So hi Wu, right? So if you can hear me, just feel free to input your comments or whatever questions that you have, okay? Because I try to make this a very interactive session, so I'm not only just talking to the monitor screen, okay? So I know a lot of you guys has been back home, all of us has been trying to work from home, okay? So I've been teaching for the last couple of days on Feng Shui classes, so I wasn't able to do live yesterday, right? So today we are able to get back on track, okay? So cool. So now, if you have missed my first episode where I talk about what is the focus for 2020, I've actually prepared all of that to you in the form of a guide. I'll give you the link in the guide in a while if you have not downloaded them. If you have downloaded them, great, right? So today we will follow on to the second part of decoding your Bazi chart, right? So so some of this guide, what we've been covering here, is available in the form of a PDF, which I'll be able to give you the link shortly, and you'll be able to download them and then refer to them as you are trying to get more information out of what you can do at this point in time. So now we cover on the first episode on the outlook of technically, if you look at what about the virus situation. Now here's my take on this. You see, technically every one of it is, you can actually look at a lot of times it's people is asking, is there a curve whereby this virus is just going to die off completely? Okay, so you need to look at it from that perspective. So if it's just going to die off completely from there, okay, then the key perspective would be, to me, everything is a cycle, right? So you need to understand this. And every 10 years, 12 years, 15 years is a cycle. Right, so last time we do have, like example, there was the Spanish flu, right? So it kind of killed a lot of people. Okay, so if you look at technically all those people in that cycle, a lot of the times it's a come and go cycle. So you need to understand that my take is, I don't think the virus will be here to stay forever. But of course, the question of the cycle is how long is this going to last? So we did give some technically some interactions in terms of time. Okay, so if we look at time factor, we do look at coming to the end of June, July, we do have a very good containment. Okay, if we look at that perspective from there. But because currently right now we're still in the water cycle, so the key question is there a possible upcoming second wave? That is a very big possibility we could be talking about here. Okay, so you can look at one part of that and look at that to kind of plan your path ahead. Okay, so now the 10 God structure is the second part of the training, which technically I'm going to cover today, right? So if you look at the 10 God structure, it's now, what do we really do with the 10 God structure? Okay, so have all of you been able to plot your chart looking at the 10 God structure? Try to look at it from there. Okay, so look at your 10 God structure. See if you are able to plot your chart that is able to look at the percentage, right? So if you can look at the percentage, just help me key in yes, right? So at least I know that you are looking at the percentage level right now. And then because you need to access to this information in order to decode, what is upcoming and what are the steps that you should do. Because some of this actually, to me, is these are what is born within your chart. Okay, so if you have access to these abilities, or even getting more awareness to awaken the abilities, you'll be able to manifest them at a much faster state. Okay, so that is something that you want to be able to find out from here, right? So that's the whole idea of studying Bazi, right? So if you don't know what is up and coming, because technically, we don't really have a guide what is going to come to our life. Most of the time, most people can be wandering around, or they can be trying things out. So we just want to be saving time here by looking at, technically about the art of astrology. Here's the fun fact. Now, sometimes we look at astrology, we'll be looking at different things, right? So some people are saying that you can look at Western astrology, some of you can look at Chinese astrology, there's even Vedic astrology, that part is coming from India. Okay, so, and people is like comparing, what sort of system is the best. You do have example, 紫微斗数, 四柱八字, these are some of the 4 pillars of destiny, different types of training. Now, to me, at the end of the day, we don't really compare in terms of systems. It comes down to how much hour you really spend in using the system to understand your chart, right? So, but here's the fun thing is you'll realize that every of this, if you're well-versed in the system itself, they all point to you somewhat in the same direction. Okay, just in terms of magnitude, in terms of the different things that they are trying to cover, a little bit of difference from that. But most of them, the bigger picture is always the same, right? Okay, so if you just log into my session, okay, welcome. If this is the first time here, anyone of you is first time here, you have not seen my past video. Okay, in fact, if you want to access the past video, they're still available at Facebook. They're still available at the YouTube. I think my team has pretty much get them uploaded. Okay, so if this is the first time joining us, you do know that you should get your Bazi chart up by joining my Bazi.info. So you can plot your Bazi chart that's up from there. And then from then, we can study a lot of different mechanics, okay? So now, last week, we were actually looking at the 5, 10 gods, okay? So if we look at it, the 5, 10 gods that we're looking at is, we actually look at, I think we look at the 7 killing, okay? So we did discuss. So what happened if you have the 7 killing stars that's in your chart, right? So I think we also discussed the direct officer stars. So just a quick recap in case that you kind of forgotten what we have covered, or this is the first time of you joining our Facebook chat, right? Okay, so first time wise, if possible, do help me to like and share on the post, because technically whatever we are doing here is we're trying to reach out as many people as possible. This part of the training, we are doing it free. So we just want to hope that more people can benefit from this. They'll be able to get advice. I mean, these days, not everyone will be able to pay for advice, right? So it'd be helpful if you can help us to like and share the post. Okay, so every little of this effort, we are all increasing the good karma, and let's just try to help and support each other at this point of time, right? So now, if you have the 7 killing and direct officer, what we've covered in last week is technically these are, I will actually call them management stars, okay? But this management stars comes to you at a certain stress factor, okay? So now, if you need the Bazi chart itself, let me just post it up for you. It's at my Bazi.info, okay? So you can just go to the website itself. You can plot your Bazi chart. You don't only just plot yourself. You can plot your family, your friends, anyone else of their chart you want to analyze, even your bosses or whatever, your partnership, right? These are some of the information that we actually tries to get simply by just using the chart, because the chart itself will help you to be able to do a lot of algorithm testing behind, so it saves a lot of valuable time. So now back to officer stars. Okay, so just a recap. How many of you has the 7 killing or direct officer? No, list your percentage in the comment, okay? So just in case, I know every time we may get different users that's coming in on the live session. That's the fun part of internet training. Anyone and everyone from all parts of the world can join. So in case that you have kind of missed out what I've discussed on the first session, is now we're currently entering period 9. So period 9 itself, it's more of a fire element. So fire element, we have to move into a new digitalization era. This is what I'm looking at. So like it or not, you see, the COVID-19 actually kind of speed up everything, right? So from people that doesn't know how to use their webcam, they don't know how to set up their home meeting, they have to do it like overnight, right? So overnight, every one of us have to go into this using technology to work, okay? So here's the key is you have to kind of realize what are the stars that is in your chart, right? So hi, Ling Shen. So just giving a shout out. So Helen has technically, okay, let me look at some of the percentage here, okay? Cool. So Helen has 20% on the 7K and then 5% on the direct officer. Okay, that's a pretty good amount. Okay, so what kind of percentage is good percentage? We look at between 20 to 70. Now the art of Bazi has always been all about balance. So if there is balance, we can say is that you do get a good amount of energy that's coming from using the stars. Now some of the stars, now every stars that is the positive and the negative perspective of it, right? So we just wants to tap on the positive part and try not to awaken on the negative aspect too much. Now, having things like 100% sometimes might be a bit over. Now, it doesn't mean it's all bad. Over just means that you have to increase your awareness to make sure that the side effects of these stars is not going to come out or reveal by itself, right? So we do have June. Okay, so June has I think 75%. So let me just try to look at this. Okay, so June has 75%, zero. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you have 0% because technically to me zero, it's something that you're not born with that skill sets. Now it's okay, you can still train it out, just that it means that you got to put in more time and effort. Okay, so I prefer to use the stars that is already inside us. So example, if you look around, there are people who can sing very well, right? And people has been training out for 10 or over thousand of months, and they still cannot get this kind of ability to sing. Okay, so this is what we are trying to say, that we are trying to tap onto the intrinsic abilities of the stars that you are having, right? So now we have Alex. So Alex is having 5%. So that's good enough, right? So even 5% of direct officer. Now, strictly officer stars, 7 killing or direct officer, to me it's you have to get associated with responsibilities that put you it doesn't matter that the responsibility you are doing right now is going to be a little bit more stressful, but the key part that we are looking at here is like it or not, if you have direct officers or 7 killing at a certain percentage, right? You should not be expecting your work to be very easy all the time, right? So example, a CEO will have to manage a lot of people, right? Manager have to manage like 20 people in their department and still got to oversees everyone and beside his own performance, right? So these are some of the roles that you want to be looking at, especially if you're looking at officer stars. So having officer stars would means that the good part is, hey, you're born with this gift means you are able to take the additional stress better than other people. Some people crumble under a bit of stress. Some people tends to do very well under stress. Okay, so like it or not, the officer stars also technically means, okay, now when I meant officer stars is 7 killing and direct officers. These are officer stars that we strictly look at, right? So this is what we call as officer stars. Of course, each stars will have their own unique perspective. Yeah. So we also did cover a friend and Rob Wealth. Okay. So some of you, if you look at friend and Rob Wealth, right? So somebody is asking that if you have 5%, right, is it sufficient to have the talent? Okay. The take is, as always with all our research work, we do see that even 5%, you can actually get it up pretty fast. Okay. Now, if you have it at 0, then what happens? So if you have it at 0, you can technically wait for the luck cycle to kick in, right? So luck cycle technically means that you can look at your luck pillar. So where do I see the part on luck pillar? So if you have it on your Bazi chart, okay, so this part here, okay, so if you look at this is technically the luck pillar that I'm talking about, right? So this part right here. So if you look at luck pillar, talks about experiences, right? What sort of experiences is going to come out? Is it going to be a challenging one? Is it going to be a smooth flowing one? So usually we want to know in terms of luck cycle what is upcoming, because once you know what is upcoming, you can take advantage on it and expand. So example, if you know you are going to be in a very productive cycle, right? So coming in the productive cycle, then you do not want to just stay put with just being a manager. Okay, so if you're given an offer to say, hey, right now you got to like wear multiple hats. You got to take out 2 overseas roles. You got to travel quite a fair bit. That is going to be a lot more out of your comfort zone. Okay, I would say do it, right? If you know that your upcoming luck cycle, you're going to leverage on the supportive luck cycle, then it's a good time to get that new job change. All right. So knowing your luck cycle is a very good abilities. In fact, most consultation, the key thing is all about luck cycle. We are not here to discuss, what has happened to you 10 years, 5 years, or 6 years ago. I mean, if you want to go down that path, you can do it, right? You just have to trace. But I always say there's really no point, right, in looking at, technically, the past, right? So if in the past you have went through hell, you went through shit, okay, then I'll say great. Okay, at least you have survived. To today, you're still around, right? So if you look at that part, it's I always prefer to look into the future, right? So the past will always have valuable lessons to teach us. Okay, but if you look at the future, you do realize there's a good mix of things that is upcoming you can leverage from. And sometimes you realize this, you don't really need like 5 years, 10 years of very good luck to get out of your situation. Okay, so it depends on what you're looking at. Some people, these days, people tend to look at, let's say, financial success. So if you look at financial success, you will see that some people, within 1 year, 2 years, they become very successful, right? They don't really take like 5, 10 years. But I'm not asking you to take shortcuts, okay? So there is still a good amount of work that has to be done, right? Even luck cycle itself doesn't mean that, technically you are going to look at the luck cycle that is good means you just have to be sitting down there, and then every other month you'll be getting easy payout or promotions and stuff like that. It doesn't work so much in that manner. A luck cycle means that there's a possible experience that'll be upcoming. So given your action is going to turn that experience into a positive outcome. Okay, so you need to know what action is going to come. So that's why when we look at Bazi, it's always a combination of 3 things, right? We call it the 3 trinity energy: the heaven, the man, and the earth energy. Of course, earth energy is talking about feng shui, which I will probably cover in other episodes to come. So if you are keen to know about feng shui, I will just cover right that. Okay. So if you really like feng shui studies, just help me to punch feng shui inside the comment. Right. So at least I know that is some other topics we can be arranging with my team. They will do all the preparations, and I'll be able to guide you guys if there's a new topic that you want us to talk about. Okay. So let me just come back to the part on your 10 God structure. Right. So this part is quite important. I thought I will spend a good amount of time. Now, you see, to read a Bazi chart, there is many ways, okay? Traditionally, last time people can read a Bazi chart looking at auxiliary stars, okay? We call that Sensha. Now, every year, if you realize, sometimes Chinese New Year or what's not, right? So you will realize that, every kind of like feng shui masters out there, they put out some form of prediction, okay, or forecast. Now, the forecast is really based on auxiliary stars, okay? So I wouldn't say that auxiliary stars is not that much accurate in terms of accuracy. It does give somewhat a different perspective, but as far as possible, I would say that you want to study the real secret of decoding your Bazi, then you need to look deep into your 10 God. You need to look deep into the structure. You need to also study your luck pillar as well as knowing the timeline. So timeline is all about date selection. What do you do in what date? That give you certain benefits. Okay, you will realize that not every day is the same day. So some days, your action could be the same, right? You are going to work every other day, but you realize today and tomorrow and subsequent next days, you are presented with different things that comes and happen into your life. So why is that so? Even your pattern is the same. So that's why we say that the daily energy will actually influence your Bazi chart. And when they influence your Bazi chart, it will influence you to make decisions. So what sort of decisions? Like example, if it's given a bad day, you start to drive, and then people cut into your road, and then you start to do all you're being very reactive, and then you see how you react or make that day turn out to be a very negative day to you, right? So now, given that if you know, let's say example, based on the Bazi chart, that thing is going to come. Right? So if you know that next year is going to be a pretty difficult year, right? There's a lot of resistance up there. Then, of course, maybe changing job, right? It's not the first thing you want to be doing right now, okay? So that is why we actually always reflect back to your Bazi, and we want to know what is the month, the day and the month, okay? It's the key mechanics to understand how do we utilize using this info to your advantage. Okay, so cool. Keep all your comments coming. I can see a lot of you is still pretty much very interested in feng shui. Yeah. So if I look at it, so Jane is talking about feng shui, right? Ron is talking about feng shui. So yeah, I think we will put together some feng shui training for you guys. So at least you do have a good amount of knowledge during this time. It doesn't matter you're going to stay at home, this and that. I hope that this knowledge is going to help you to transform faster to reach your goals eventually. And then, of course, at the end of the day, what we want to do is to save time, right? We don't want to waste valuable time, okay, into doing a lot of this nonsensical things, okay? So now, of course, we did cover hurting officers, right? So some of you, if you don't know what is the hurting officers, okay, hurting officers itself, we did mention that if you do have these stars, this is one of the best action taker stars. So if you look at actions, people who don't sit on their goals, they don't sit on their dreams, having these stars is technically one of the best, right? I always say that. Now, in the olden days, people like to look at hurting officer stars, right, as one of the stars that is quite hurtful for women to say, okay? But I don't kind of agree with that context with these days anymore, because I mean, come on, these days, there's a lot of powerful women who can hold even higher positions than men, okay? So we don't always look at the point whereby hurting officers means that, this woman is overpowering, she is having too much power, she's dominating and stuff like that. I always say that these days, if you marry your wife, if she does have hurting officers, I said, that's very good luck, because, you have a very capable woman at home that is taking care of everything for you, right? So gone are the days that you see hurting officers as a very bad stars, all right? So of course, let's discuss a bit more with the stars itself, right? So let's discuss on direct resource. Okay, so how many of you have these stars that's called direct resource? Chinese, we call rather indirect resource, okay? Look at the indirect resource. Later we talk about the direct resource. Pian Ying, so Pian Ying, indirect resource. Look at these stars. How many of you have these stars? Just input your percentage. Let me know. So I know how many of you watching right now, how many of you got this. Wow, 50%. Okay, so Joshua technically has 50%. That's a relatively high percentage. Okay, so that's not too bad. So later on, I will discuss what is the benefit of having the indirect resource. So Anna has 25%. Okay, that's great. All right. So Helen 5%, and then we have Ching Wei at 95. Wow, amazing. All right. So okay. Too much of the power. I mean, you utilize too much of the power. So later I'll teach you how to trim a bit of this abilities. Okay, right? So now if you just came in to join me on this chat, right? So what we are actually doing here is very mini bite-sized episodes in terms of 八字 to give you perspective of what it can do to transform your life and getting the goals that you want, right? So we'll be trying to put out this mini training out there. Do help me to like and share the post, because all of this sharing will be able to help users out there. They may be in the loss, they don't know what to do, right? So they may be able to tap onto this valuable knowledge to help them to get a good amount of directions in their life. Okay, so all your sharings is be very helpful. So Francis, we have 50%. Okay, so Peichi have 50%. All right, so Tang 20%. So Franz Go, okay, so wow, 0. Okay, so 0 is fine. So later on, just leverage on the stars that you have. Okay, so I choose not to focus on the 0% because it's better to focus on what you are already born with than trying to spend a bit more time to get those additional skill sets that you have to, be training from the scratch, right? To me, that might be wasting a bit too much time. Okay, so Chris has 20%. Okay, so cool. So what is the great thing about these stars, right? So if you look at the stars itself, this is what I say, right? So if you look at the indirect resource stars, now first and foremost, you are a person that you leverage a lot on wisdom. Okay, so you like to craft for knowledge, you like to craft for wisdom, all right? So your training, or rather your back end abilities in research works, right? Your thought processes, relatively you are pretty strong. Okay, so whatever you're doing, before you even implement, tries to make good use of these stars in your research work, because you really know what you're doing out there, right? So that's one of the key things about indirect resource. Now, the second thing is, now indirect resource people, I kind of realized that they use a lot of their intuition, right? So the intuition is very strong, okay? So what is this thing about intuition? Now, intuition is a star's example. Technically, you may get a certain feeling or a certain concept, right? Even though you have example, so you just met this person right today, and you have not met the person before. So just one look at him, you do kind of get a gut feeling of what this person characteristics roughly is having. Okay, you'll be surprised. There are people who have these skill sets out there. Okay, some people like to call them sixth sense. Right, some people like to call them gut feelings. To me, this is, I'll say that this is the stars you base on intuition, right? So Joshua was saying, yeah, yes, right. So yeah, this is why I'm actually saying if you have the indirect resource stars, your intuition is powerful. So if you also realize that there's a lot of people, like example, Warren Buffett, okay? So why he technically can make such good money on the stocks market, right? It's he have this very good intuition stars. So of course, a lot of people are saying that, you know, he also learned a great tons of knowledge about value investing and the knowledge behind it, okay? I don't deny that he has great knowledge in value investing, but of course, to be exactly like him also requires a certain stars, and that indirect resource stars is one of the things that I look at. So what this means is to tell you, you technically wants to listen to your inner self a bit more. Okay, so sometimes you could be taking a shower, right, or you could be sitting down at a desk. You know, suddenly you have new thoughts coming in. You must understand that your thought system is always influenced by energy out there, right? You don't suddenly think of certain things unless the energy in your home environment or the energy of the day or the month comes in and influence you, and that ultimately makes you make certain decisions. Then suddenly, example, you decide, okay, I'll make an investment this month. Okay, I want to build out my knowledge in Chinese metaphysics. Talking about Chinese metaphysics, you realize indirect resource stars people, they tend to be having great interest in astrology. Okay, so it also means that if you have this indirect resource, you are in all arts that's got to do with the unorthodox science. Okay, so if you look at Vedic astrology, also astrology, tarot cards reading, face reading, okay, you look at it, is a big part of it. So some of you is looking at does it, okay, so I do have a question that's coming from Jackie. Does it mean higher percentage equal higher success? Okay, you can say all of it like that, yes. But if you do have 100%, okay, so what's the negative aspect of it? Sometimes you may be going into overthinking too much. Okay, so you do get sixth sense, but they are overreactive and oversensitive sixth sense. That means you sense every other thing, right? So imagine this: if you are able to read everything, like example, you know that certain people don't like you, you can even read deep into them. Then that's kind of in a way will rather backfire, right? Because you know, knowing too much sometimes may not be a good thing, right? So you want to know enough to make the right decision. Sometimes knowing too much, that means you go into, you know, overthinking mode. Once you went to overdrive, it's going to stop you from doing a lot of things. Okay, so that's one perspective of it. Yeah. Okay, so of course the indirect stars, it's not the stars, I'll say, that you can train on it too much unless you want to do a lot of meditation, things like that. Because technically indirect resource, the thing about hunter sixth sense abilities most of the time is, I would say, gifted in a certain way. So look at your Bazi chart, right? So even you got 5%, right, you will realize that you do kind of talk to your sixth sense for a while. Okay, so indirect resource stars is all about wisdom, it's all about gathering resources, it's all about gathering data. Right. I also like to say indirect resource sometimes it also means that you do have a good amount of supporters that's coming to your life. So that's one perspective of it. Okay. So keep your questions coming. All right. So we'll be revising, you know, that's why every other mini session I try to break out into small episodes of, we will cover between about 30 to 40 minutes, right? Not too long. So you guys don't have to be spending like 1.5 hours. You're stuck with me and you can't go toilets and stuff like that. Okay. So now, of course, if you have too much, right? So this is coming from Lo Ching Wei, yeah? So if you, example, you have a high percentage, right? So you have 80 or 90. I would say that one of the quickest way to contain these stars is you make a timeline on how long you want to think about this matter, right? So example, you'll be asked for partnership, okay? So if you're being asked for partnership, you don't want to be spending like 1 month, 2 months to be thinking about it. So you need to set a timeline. Okay, so I find setting a timeline is the most effective because it will kind of force you to make decisions eventually by a certain date, right? So set a timeline like probably a week or two, right? If it's something very important, if it's not important things, maybe just a day or two, right? Set that timeline. At the end of it, make the decisions. Trust your gut feeling, trust your senses, and after that, and you will start to just say yes, right, and do it. Okay, overthinking you must always understand when once you overthink stuff too much, you're not going to do anything, right? So if you're not going to do anything, doesn't matter how much knowledge that you have, okay, or whatever planning that you have. If you don't have action, right, there's ultimately no results. It's as simple as that. You can't even find anything to fail, right? So if there's no action, there's nothing to fail, right? So the thing about failing sometimes is people take it literally too much at you can't fail in life. I always say that the key thing is you probably want to fail big in life, fail more in life. So you take out very valuable life lessons, and these are some of the things. It's better to fail early in life than to fail later on in life, right? That is much as I see it. Okay, so looking at some questions. So Bella, okay, too much IR is it can see ghosts. Well, certain people do have the ability. Yes, I will say it. Okay, not really just ghosts. They can sense a lot of things. They can sense spirits and stuff like that. But of course, I try not to link too much in that direction in case some of you got too scared off by this sort of things, right? I try to still present the very scientific part of Bazi itself. Okay, so right here, Bazi is strictly just destiny science. It's got nothing to do with religion. Okay, so of course, some of you, if you have too much of this, yes, you may get into your energy sensitivity level might be too high, so you can sense a lot of things, right? So that's that. But don't have to be worried too much about it if you have done nothing wrong, right? But if you've done, a lot of stuff, then tries to do more good karma to recover. Okay. So okay, I'll cover probably just one more stars, right? Before I don't want to stretch this session for too long. Okay, let's look at the next stars that you'll be looking at. Is this direct resource? Okay, so look at your direct resource stars. How many of you have this percentage for direct resource? Just input in so I can have a few from there, right? So I can also put out some of your comments. Okay, feel free to keep your comments coming, okay? So we'll be able to look at it. So how much of indirect resource is too much? Okay, if you look at the percentage, I like to say that anything that's more than 75% tends to be a tad too much, right? So too much doesn't mean anything negative. It just means you need to exercise more control, okay? So that's that. So let's look at the direct resource stars. So we have example. So Jackie has 45%, right? Jocelyn, okay. Jocelyn has 20 to 70. All right. You should have a fixed percentage, yeah. So look at your direct resource stars. Roughly, pretty much you have a fixed percentage. So example, CK 25. So Jackson 0. Like I said, it's okay if you got 0, yeah. 0 focus the stars that you're born with. Okay. So we have Jason having 70, Jenny's 55%, and then we have Johnny 20%. Okay. So now, of course, if you look at all of these stars, right. Okay. So here's the good thing about direct resource stars. Now the direct resource stars means that technically, if you have these stars, you're being very analytical, right? So you're a person that likes to crush data. You're a person that likes to research everything before you even do something. Okay, so the direct resource stars is responsible. To me, it's one of the most powerful academic stars. So if you look at people who's they are smart, they have a PhD, right, or they have professorship and they are very high learned in their life. Now, some of you will say that, hey, you know what? I have this direct resource stars, but yet, I don't do well in my school. Okay, what does it mean? Okay, so it also means technically, direct resource stars can means that whenever you are keen on that something that you want to do, right, you will spend all the efforts to get all your knowledge back out. So that is something that is a key plus to you, right? So that means to say is that utilize these stars. It's whatever things that you want to do, don't just execute it immediately, because these stars always give you the additional benefits, right? Because you do know what you are talking about, you do know what are the plans they have to make. And the best part about direct resource stars is in the ancient times, and the classics, they also classified this as one of the nobleman stars, right? So you talk about noblemen, we are talking about helpful supporters, right? So how many of you got this helpful supporter stars? Just put out your hand or say yes. Okay, so this is technically to me a very, very good stars. In fact, if you want to talk about life is fair or not fair, I felt that we should not look at it that way. Okay, because if you want to look at why are you born with certain stars and not other stars that you wanted, let's just look at it the the system has a level of karma in the past life, previous life, and what sort of things that you have done previously. So it generates what sort of a karma that you have this life. So you are born from a very good family. I will feel very happy for you. I mean, technically, you earn it by merits. Okay, this certainly don't comes to you just by chance. Okay, nobody will just get into having a good life by chance. So if somebody is a very famous celebrity out there, they are powerful speakers, this is merits to their past life, right? But of course, then again, you must always tell yourself then in this lifetime, what is your action that is going to bring you subsequently? Because your current action is going to affect, your luck in the future. Your current action is going to affect, of course, if you want to talk about next lifetime, there will definitely be a cycle to that, right? So I always say that always monitor ourselves, right, in terms of is my action right now, right? Am I being contributing to people, to society, or am I trying to do a lot of things that is against people, that's against me, example, right? So I prefer not to spend so much time on that instead, okay? So if you look at technically the direct resource stars, okay, the nobleman stars is one of the stars. So I also see there's quite a bit of people when they have these stars, they also tends to have a lot of benefactors, okay, mentors, right, coming to the life. So the key thing is when I say you have the direct resource stars, tries to reach out for help. In fact, one of the key things is it's always faster to learn from a mentor than to figure things out yourself, right? Of course, these days people say, you know what, you want to study anything, everything is on the internet. Yeah, I do know everything is on the internet. So example, if you want to talk about being a doctor, right? I'm pretty sure that the internet has huge archive of everything that teach you about how to being a doctor to medication. But the thing is, how long does it takes for you to understand everything, and how long does it takes for you to be able to practice just using information everywhere, right? So that's the key thing. If you have the direct resource or indirect resource, it's always good to get yourself a mentor, right? So if you want to study investing, right, I say that the quickest way will be to look for someone who have certain track records to show you that they know what they are doing. Then yeah, maybe it's a good time to be learning from them, than to slowly borrow your books one by one to figure out from there. I'm not saying that you can't do this on your own. You can. It's just a matter of fact that how much time you want to save, right? So that's the direct resource stars. Okay, so technically, I think that we have covered quite a fair bit for this session, about 40 minutes in place. Okay, so I'll take a bit of your maybe about 2 minutes of a Q&A. So just punch in some of your question and answers, so your questions right now, so I can see that if I can select maybe a couple of questions, so I can answer them, and then we can of course continue this training session in my next live session. Okay, so in case you have just joined us, you do not know when our live session is coming out, please click on the follow and see first, and of course click on the live notification. So this, every time when I do out a live session like this, you'll pop up in your Facebook or in your mobile phone. At least you get alerted, right? So yeah, punch in your questions right now, so at least I can take a couple of questions from you guys. Okay, so what is direct resource is 0%? Okay, now direct resource, if it's 0%, we can utilize. Okay, one thing, of course, you want to talk about the person itself, is we technically has to be a bit more productive. Okay, so that means you constantly need to remind yourself to be more productive if you are talking about the direct resource stars. But you can, of course, again use feng shui techniques. There are good position. You can position yourself in sectors. I'll probably cover that in upcoming episodes, right, on the feng shui part. That you can, once you position yourself in a certain given sector, you realize you tends to be a bit more productive, okay, in that certain day or in that certain hour, and that productivity turns into your outcome that you wanted. Okay, that's one part of it. So there's a lot of solutions, right? And of course, if you want to look at technically, what about talking about, you have too high percentage. Now, too high percentage is, 95% is technically a bit too high. So what it means is technically you will have to be a bit more conscious. You have to make more awareness, because the Rockwell stars suggest that your social circle is huge, right? But of course, whether you can benefit from them is another thing. Okay, so you probably have to be a bit more prudent into selecting the right partners and friends among people who just came to you directly immediately, and then don't just decide on these are the best people I need to work with. Okay, that's the 95% on your Rockwell stars, right? So if you, okay, so let's look at one more questions. Okay, so indirect resource stars, 92%. It's a very high percentage. It just means the sixth sense is very good. Just don't go into overthinking too much, right? So plan enough and keep yourself with a timeline and execute when it's time to execute, right? Okay, so good questions. Okay, all of those questions, just keep them coming. I try my best to keep them covered for a fair bit. Okay, so of course, a lot of you has been asking, do you have more professional course? Later, I'll talk a bit about that, right? I mean, I've been teaching for quite a long time in metaphysics studies, right? So if you want to look for professional courses, we can cover it a bit more, right? And all those is already covered, recorded into an online training program. It's a series, okay? I'll give you guys, because you guys is one of the early starters with my Facebook Live, so I'll give you guys massive discount on that. Don't worry about it, okay? So, okay, last question. Yeah? So we look at, this is from Ling Shen. Yeah? So direct officers and direct wealth in the hidden stems in luck pillar. Same meaning as what Masters has told in earlier. Technically, yes, but of course, direct wealth, there is still technically 3 more stars. You see, that's why you see there's so many things to learn about these stars. But once you are able to compile these 10 stars together, you literally can read people like a book, right? So it's not only just for you to read people like a book, it's also one of the key abilities for you to understand your intrinsic abilities, right? So to me, these are your strength, your core strength. People wants to replicate and do something and they don't have these stars, they can't do it as well as you are, right? So that's one of the key facts. Okay, so now if you just wants to be, in case you just want to be, before I give you the link for the grab, let me just give you one of the links here. Okay, so if you wants to be looking at, right, where to technically get access. Okay, now we do have come out with a Bazi Jumpstart program. Now this is a program that we actually designed if you got zero knowledge, right? So if you got zero knowledge, you wants to take some training in Bazi, wants to know how to read some of these key characteristics, the strengths, the 10 God, some of the key focus that what's to achieve in 2020. Just feel free to enroll in one of our upcoming class. We actually have the classes upcoming technically, which is in coming towards the end of this month, right? So that is on the 1st of May, right? So on the 1st of May, we'll be able to technically be able to give you guys access to them, right? So while before you get into access, I'll be inserting the links. Okay, so if you have not got the links, I'll insert the links. Now, in case this is the first time you have not been able to get yourself the access for the PDF file, let me just show you the PDF file that I've prepared. Okay, so this is a PDF file. So just a quick glance through. All right. So climb greater heights, right? Jumpstart your Bazi program. Okay, so it gives you some basic knowledge to get you started to understanding certain mechanics, okay, of what is upcoming. Okay, so if you look at all of this, you want to make sure that you have downloaded this file. I know some of you have already downloaded. Now, if you have not downloaded this, okay, so you want to be ensuring that you can actually get access to them, right? So that is one of the key things here. Okay, now before I go on, okay, let me just get you the link right here. Okay, so the link is okay, right. Okay, the link is right here. So in case that you want to get access to the because after the session, in fact, we already have like I think 900 over sign up, all right, for the training program. Okay, we give you guys at a very very good discount. It's almost 80% discount. Okay, I think more than that. It's almost a 90% discount, right? So we just want to make sure that everyone have access to good training programs that can bring it up to the next level. Okay, so now if you want to still be able to download the file itself, just key this. Okay, so key this on your screen. Okay, let me just hide this part here first. Right, comment to growth 2020, one word. Right, you don't put a space. Growth 2020. Okay, just put it in. All right. So, well, since first day, I already downloaded. Okay, so that's cool, right? So if you have not downloaded, some of you are first timer. Okay, so just put in growth 2020. You'll be able to get access to the PDF that I actually mentioned about here. This is the core focus for 2020, all right? So if you cannot download, just key in again. You'll be prompted, and there's two ways to download right now. It's either they send you directly, or you can download directly from the website. Okay, Growth 2020, one word. Okay, just put it in, and this will give you the core focus on how do you do your 八字 analysis and focus for 2020. I mean, coming right now it's April. We still got coming to May already, right? Still got a good amount of time to sort out what is about to come in our life, right? So these are very simple guides, and it's not even difficult at all, right? So punch in Growth 2020, one word, you should be able to get access to it, okay? So some of you, if you cannot, don't worry, my team will reach out to you, okay, to make sure that you'll be able to download them. Okay, Growth 2020 should be one word, yeah? Don't put a space in between. If you put a space, I think the system will not be able to detect for this, okay? I think my team has did the setup to have this automated for you guys, right? So if you look at this, right, everything, your core focus for 2020 is all being covered up here. Okay, and of course, subsequently in our next upcoming live session, we will again be looking more into, of course, the 10 God structure in depth. But of course, if you already can't wait, then just enroll into the program itself, because the videos is already be launched on the 1st of May, right? You will get full access to all of this thing, right? And you can always revisit every other episodes. You get access to them for life, okay? So no worries about not being able to access them, and you do have PDF file for you guys to download as well, right? So I'll be covering the next, of course, the 10 God, and not only that is how the solutions to utilize this abilities that is upcoming in your chart, right? And I, of course, get questions about luck pillar. No, the key things is a lot of people likes to look at luck pillar, right? So how to enroll? Just follow the link, right? So there is, if you look at the link, right? There is a link that says kevinfoong.net, okay, /jumpstart. Okay, let me just put it out here. Okay, go to this URL, right? So just go to the URL kevinfoong.net /jumpstart. You'll be able to enroll directly in the program. Currently right now, giving you guys a 90% fees of whatever it takes to get this information out there. Okay, so of course, I hope that you do love the training episodes. Okay, what we have been putting out is there'll be a series of 八字 training, Feng Shui training, and we'll be putting out 奇门遁甲 training, as well as some of you is requesting for face reading. We can do that as well, right? So if you want to read which part of the face, how do you read people like a book, right? Is there any hidden agenda? If you look at certain people on the face, right, then you'll be able to have an upper hand. This is exactly what we're talking about, right? So feel free to, of course, get into the link that is kevinfoong.net /jumpstart. If you still want access, okay, to the PDF file, that's Growth 2020. I hope that you enjoy this part of the training itself, right? And of course, I look forward to seeing you on my next live session. Now, do remember to click follow, see first, and of course, click on the live notification, because that will notify you every time we got live. So I hope that you enjoy this little mini training, and I shall look forward to seeing you right in our next live. Cheers, guys. Good night.